There's this critical window in any executive's career that almost everyone gets wrong: the first 30 days. It isn't about launching grand strategies or making bold moves. Nope, it's about something far more subtle and, honestly, far more powerful. And today, we're going to break down exactly why that is.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. See, authority in a new role, it's not something your title just hands to you. It's actually really fragile, and it tends to disappear quietly, in the background. It doesn't vanish because of some big, public failure. It's lost through something much quieter: silent misinterpretation. So that brings us to what I call the first 30-day trap. The old advice is to come in hot, act fast, make your mark, right? But the thing is, the most effective leaders, they know that that very instinct is a huge mistake.
I want you to think about it like this. Imagine you've just stepped onto the bridge of a ship mid-voyage. The crew? They couldn't care less how fast you want to go. What they are watching is every little thing. How you listen, how you react when things get tense, how you treat the team. In these first few days, those tiny signals carry enormous weight, and they define you long before your big strategy ever will.
And this, right here, shows the massive disconnect. Most new leaders, they're laser-focused on that stuff on the left: execution, strategy, getting some quick wins on the board. But the real game, the one that actually dictates if you're going to succeed long-term, that's all on the right. It's about interpretation, the signals you send, and crucially, controlling the narrative right from day one.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. The organization makes up its mind about you fast. Like within a few weeks, they'll slot you into a box pretty quickly. Are you the aggressive type or more measured? Are you strategic or just playing politics? And once that label sticks, guess what? They spend all their time looking for evidence to prove themselves right. Your performance gets judged through a lens that was shaped in those first few interactions.
So if the usual approach is just a trap, how do you get around it? Well, you do it by understanding the hidden operating system that really drives executive success. This gives you a whole new framework for how to act.
So here it is, the secret sauce: the perception, power, performance sequence. And the most important thing to get here is that this whole thing doesn't start with performance. It ends with it. First comes perception. Then, based on that perception, you're either granted power and influence, or you're not. And only after all that does anyone even look at your performance. And they're looking at it through a lens that was already created. Most leaders get this sequence completely backward. All right, so if you're going to use this operating system right, your very first move has to be diagnosing the environment. Before you even think about a strategy or a solution, you have to know exactly what kind of situation you're walking into.
And the best tool for that diagnosis is what's known as the STARS framework. You have to figure out with absolute clarity which one of these scenarios you're in. Is it a startup? A turnaround? Are you in an accelerated growth phase? A realignment? Or trying to sustain success? Because here's the thing. Each one demands a totally different playbook. A turnaround calls for fast, deep cuts, while sustaining success is all about careful, nuanced adjustments.
And that is exactly why getting the diagnosis right is non-negotiable. I mean, if you use the wrong playbook, say you treat a realignment like it's a turnaround, all your brilliant moves are just gonna fall flat. You'll be answering questions nobody is asking, solving problems nobody cares about, and just like that, your credibility is shot. Okay, so once you've diagnosed a situation, what's next? The next step is to map out the real power structure. And no, I am not talking about the org chart. I'm talking about the informal network that can make or break anything you try to do. Look, the formal org chart, that's the easy part. It's all right there in black and white. But the real action, that happens in the informal influence network. You got to figure out who are the real influencers here, the ones people listen to, no matter what their title is. What are the rules that aren't written down anywhere? And where are those hidden veto points? That is the map you actually need to survive. All right, let's make this super concrete. Let's look at the two different paths an executive can take. This really spells out what to do and, more importantly, what not to do. So, over on the left, you've got the reactive executive. This person comes in guns blazing, flashing their title, and immediately sets off all the alarm bells. They basically trigger the organization's immune system. But then on the right, you have the strategic executive, and they are playing a completely different game. They start by listening. They build quiet alliances with those key influencers we talked about. They're totally focused on shaping how people interpret things before they ever make a big move. They use these small early wins to build a very specific story about who they are and how they lead. So what does that actually look like day to day?
Here's a simple 4-week playbook. Week 1, forget big announcements. It's all about one-on-one meetings, aligning expectations with your key stakeholders. Week 2, you launch your listening tour. You're just gathering intel. Week 3 is when you put on your detective hat and map out that informal influence network. And then, and only then, in week 4, do you share some of your initial observations. And you know what that does? It sends a massive signal that you are actually listening.
Which brings us to the whole point of these first 30 days. It's not about making some big splash. It's not about proving to everyone they made the right hire. It's about securing something much, much more valuable. And if there's one thing you remember from this, it's this quote right here. That first month, it really sets the stage for your entire time there. It defines the boundaries of what's possible. It's what determines how much trust you get, how much buy-in you'll have for your ideas. Basically, you're earning the informal permission to actually lead.
So your job isn't to prove you can do the job. It's to make everyone, in both the formal and informal networks, believe that you should be the one leading them. Remember, authority isn't something you declare. It's something that's inferred by others. And that inference happens really, really early.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Your first month is right around the corner. Are you going to fall for the trap, focusing on frantic action? Or are you going to play the long game and focus on controlling the narrative? Because honestly, that choice, it's going to define everything.